Hello. Alright, so we're going to talk about building a Dieline in Adobe Illustrator today. So what you need to understand first off are some of the elements that go into a Dieline and what essentially a Dieline is. So essentially what we are building is a template where we're able to lay out a design into that, well, when we go and make plates and we put those plates in the press, when it prints, it will align to a die that we have in our lab. So dies are fixed. And what I mean by that is that they're not changeable. We have a variety of dies in our lab, and you can choose one of those dies, and the sizes and shapes that are on those dies are fixed and they're unchangeable. So that means that whenever we develop this die line, it needs to be very precise, and everything about building this is about precision. So now with that being said, let's take a look at a die line and the parts of it. So what we see here, like as far as these circles are essentially, representations of how the die is going to cut out of our substrate or our paper. So all of our artwork will go inside of the die cuts. Now around the die cuts are some elements that need to be in place for us to be able, that they're used more as references for whenever we're setting up the press or during the run of the press. So one of the first things we'll look at is the register mark. So register marks are they're marks that are put onto plates that serve as a reference point. So if you have multiple colors, you can align these register marks to each other so that multiple colors can align to each other. The next one is the impression target. Now the purpose of the impression target is that it's kind of an element that is designed to fail first. So when we put our plates into the press, we have to apply a certain amount of pressure to the plate for the ink to transfer. Now, the impression targets are designed so that if we put too much pressure on it, the lines will start filling in. So essentially, they're elements there that are designed to fail. And when we're setting our impression, we can use this as a point of reference that if they're printing good, then the rest of the artwork is also printing well. Along the sides of the die cuts, we'll find what's called the bearer bar. And what the purpose of the bearer bar is that the plates that we use in flexography, they have a raised surface on it. So the image that we're printing is raised up off of the foundation of the plate. So the purpose of the bearer bars is that they're there so that there's always a raised area, and there's not like a valley at some point. Because like I mentioned with the impression targets, we're going to put a little bit of pressure on the plate to transfer the ink. And the thing is, if there's not like a constant point of contact around the plate, those areas where there isn't artwork, like in this gap area here between the two cuts, if there's nothing there, it causes like a valley, and then that pressure that is applied through the impression, it would cause the plate to kind of smack. And if you're running it at a fairly high speed, that smacking is going to make the actual plate bounce, and it's going to kill all quality that we can get off of the plate. So they're there just to keep constant contact all the way around that plate when it's on a cylinder. It also helps when we're mounting, which you'll see down the line. The next point, yes, is gap. So there's just a gap in between the cuts, and it needs to be identified, and it could be up and down. If dies could have multiple cuts going across it and around it. So if it was side by side, that would still be called the gap. That would be called the horizontal gap, and this right here, between the ones that are stacked, would be our vertical gap. And then we also have register marks that are down at the bottom. And usually what I do is, and this is pretty common, is to make the top register mark and the bottom register mark look different. And what the sole purpose of that is so that when you pick up a plate, you know the orientation of it. You know what's the top, you know what's the bottom. And that makes it easy and it reduces mistakes. The last thing is that there will be a cut line that will be, and it identifies where to cut the plate. Now, when we set up this first die line, we're going to set it up so that that cut line is right at the exact edge of the document. So it's not going to actually look this way, but just for illustrative purposes, I brought it in a little bit so that we could see it. But essentially, it's going to be right at the top and bottom of the document that we're going to create. So that's just a quick breakdown of what a die line is and what we're going to be creating today.